and welcome. And this is the Hustle Over Everything podcast. Today is a special day. We have a special guest in the building. Man, this guy's doing big things out here, changing the city landscape in terms of entertainment and everything. And it's honestly an honor to have, Matty Tsoumaris in the building, or as he goes by, Matty Uniq. So Matty is the founder and a partner of Honeycomb Hospitality. If you've been in Toronto, if you've been at all these major venues such as Ballroom, Petty Cash, Wildflower, he just opened a new joint called Dash. He's doing it all, and I'm honored to have him in here as a guy I look up to, and it's a blessing just to come in here and pick his brain about his business and everything he's doing. So Matty, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be on the Hustle of Everything podcast. I appreciate you inviting me down. Like you said, I'm Matty Uniq from Honeycomb Hospitality, and I'm definitely excited to be here and talk about what we're doing in Toronto.
Perfect, man. So let's take it back to the beginning, man. So, how did Matty Uniq come about? How did you grow up? What was your childhood like? And did you grow up in Toronto?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Toronto. Two amazing parents, hardworking people. They definitely gave me some opportunities growing up. I worked for my dad at his auto body shop, auto mechanic shop. Every day after school, I'd go up there and hang out with him and kind of work and learn the ropes of his business. My mom came from a design background, worked for some of the biggest designers in the world. And, so that's where a little bit some of my touch you might see nowadays in terms of how things are laid out in our venues or look and feel. Definitely comes from her guidance from back in the day, and still to this day she helps me out. She's got a great eye for things. Yeah. And, I grew up in downtown Toronto, ended up going to high school in Etobicoke at Etobicoke Collegiate. And from there, a bunch of my friends ended up going to Western and in London, Ontario, and I got really excited and I wanted to end up where my friends were going. So I worked really hard my last year at high school, and ended up attending King's College at Western University.
Oh, you went to King's, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to go to Western as well. It's funny, your story is all your friends are going to Western. I grew up in Sarnia because London and Sarnia are nearby. So I was like, you know what? I'm so tired of this small town feel. I want to experience something bigger and better. And that's why I decided to come to Toronto. So what did you take when you were at King's? What did you study?
So I wasn't probably the best student, I was definitely more on the social side opposed to study side. I said a lot of my friends were going to Western, so, I wanted to be around them. I had no real plan, to be honest, man. I didn't know what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. My parents were, and owned their business, which was, like I said, an auto body shop where they fixed cars and sold parts. So I had an idea maybe I wanted to go work for them one day. Yeah. But I had no real plan. I just got excited to get in. I got in as a history department. And I just kind of started going with the flow and getting adjusted like any student in first year.
Exactly.
Just living on your own for the first time and being outside of the city, away from your family and friends that were, are from back home, and kind of adjusting to your new group of friends and your new surroundings. Like any first year student, I was just kind of getting my feet, settled in and figuring out what to do. Like any first year kind of student, you're just kind of
testing the waters.
You get excited, test the waters, get excited, and kind of just find your groove.
I can so relate to you because I wasn't the best student either, but one thing I had was I was a very hard worker. And I find a lot of people who are very entrepreneurial, they know how to navigate the world in a street smart way. They know they can see the angles, they just have that way of doing things. But it's academics from all entrepreneurs, from everybody who's done it. It just seems as if it's we see the bigger picture more than anything. And I don't know about you, but when I came to Ryerson, it was a big shock for me. I worked hard my grade 12 year to enter to come to Ryerson's business program. Were you doing well at King's? Were you just working hard to just get the good grades, or?
I wasn't the best student. I was just trying to go to class, do what I can do.
Yeah.
But I started to notice that being a good student or being someone that's really, diving in deep into the books wasn't something that I was super happy or super, excited about.
Yeah.
I was doing it because, it was my opportunity to be there and be there with my friends and try to do it. And I think whatever you try to do in life, you got to try to do it 100%.
Exactly.
Until you know that you're not happy doing it. And then I think that you should, if you're not happy doing something in life, just figure out a way out and find something to do that makes you happy in your career or school or whatever it may be, because school is not for everyone, and certain careers not for anyone. And I didn't think that history would take me to anywhere I wanted to be in my life.
Yeah.
So I noticed that towards the end of my first year, and that's where kind of my first couple opportunities into what I do today kind of arose randomly out of the blue, and it kind of just happened. So yeah, man, that's how kind of my first year went. It was just kind of get through year one. Learn the lay of the land of London, Ontario, and being a Mustang and going out with my friends and being a first year student,
Yeah.
It's adjustment, it's fun, it's a little bit party heavy.
Exactly, man.
But it was a memory I'll never forget.
Yeah, man, and London's a great party school, man. I think in my eyes it looks like it gave you like the perfect hotbed of just like, being like in your lane right now, like being in hospitality, because London's like a small town, but it's a great party school. It kind of like resembles that American lifestyle in terms of like the culture and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. It was like, I think when I was going there, it was like one of the top like 10 Playboy schools, or Playboy's top 10 schools to like party and for girls. So, it had that vibe and had that moment. And kind of in year two is kind of when I started getting into, into the party scene really deep. And that's how it kind of all unfolded and came together for me. My dad had an investment opportunity and got involved in a restaurant when I was like 16 years old. He opened up a cool bar in Greektown. My background's Greek, so he was out there, and he had some friends that just asked him to get involved and invest in a restaurant. So that was kind of my family's first entry point into the restaurant hospitality. It did really well. It's something that I used to go hang out when I was 16, 17 before I went to university and watch. But it was like a restaurant, have pool tables, and it had a little bit of a bar. And it was in Greektown, not downtown Toronto. So it was kind of, part of our culture over there. So it was pretty cool. And when I was going to school at Western, he actually opened up his first nightclub. And he had an opportunity with some friends to get a space. And after my first year, or just around my first year, he started to open up his first nightclub, and that was called the 11th Hour.
Yeah. And
that was his first kind of, his first little like entrance into the nightclub world, which he knew nothing about, and it kind of came together for both of us, me and him. In my second year university, by chance, Western is a crazy party school. People would go out there at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in a snowstorm and wait in lineups.
Yeah.
And it was like every night had their night. Every bar had their night. Wednesdays was Jim Bob's. Thursday was this place. Friday was
like Barking Frog or something.
Friday was this place. Saturday was that, the Phoenix, whatever, and all this kind of stuff. So every night everybody went to one bar. That's where you wanted to be.
Yeah. And
if you didn't get there by 8, 9 o'clock, you're waiting out in line.
Yeah.
And I remember it was probably just before Christmas break in our second year, and we ended up having a whole bunch of people that had a birthday together, and we all tried to go to the bar. There must have been like 50, 60 of us, like 3-4 birthdays. Everyone was there, a couple of guys, a couple of girls' birthdays, and no one was getting in. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock, line up down the street, and we were kind of getting sick of it. And that's when we kind of all walked down the street and went into this bar called Barking Frog.
Oh yeah. And
that's the first time where I got my first experience of kind of throwing a party. Yeah. And Barking Frog was a dead slow bar in Toronto. No one knew. In London, no one knew about it. And that night we ended up bringing 100 people with us, throwing a great party, and people just started keep coming because we just said, hey, we're here, and everyone just kind of followed. Yeah. And the manager came up to me and he's like, hey man, he's like, everybody here, what's going on? I'm like, we're just a group of friends, we hang out. We're starting to hate going to Jim Bob's. It's the
same routine type of thing.
Same routine. We can never get in. They treat us like shit, whatever. He's like, listen, you want to start bringing your friends here? I'll give you a couple, free bottles, and you guys can have a good time and whatever. So it was like, for me, second university.
It's like a win-win situation for you.
Yeah, it was second university, getting some drinks for free and going out with my friends. Like, why not? So the next week and after that and the week after that, we just kept going there just before Christmas break. And, we did really well. We bring about 100 people a night between a couple of my friends. Just spreading the word. Exams broke out, so, everyone started to come partying a little bit.
Exactly.
And he was like, listen, why don't you do this every week? I was like, all right, I think I can put together a few friends that are good at this, and we can start to throw a party here. And basically, when we got back for Frost Week, it was me, my buddy Andreas, who was on the football team. So, he had a huge network. If you're on the Western football team, you're a pretty popular guy.
Pretty popular guy, man. You're the man, essentially.
And then another group of girls that were in sororities that kind of came together and were like, let's throw some parties here on Wednesdays.
Exactly.
So they ended up giving us the door and, charged $5 cover. And that first week back, we did like 800 people. Damn. And we crushed it. And from that point on, I think people that still go to London still go to Bark and Frog on Wednesdays. It's the spot.
Bark and Frog is still lit, because I go to Western for when I used to go to Western for homecoming and visit some friends, it's the premier
100%
place to
and
party.
If anyone wants to challenge that story that Bark and Frog was something before we made it, made it that Wednesday, I challenge them all the time, man. That Wednesday kind of put that place on the map. It's still going. My buddy Kirk owns it now. He's a great guy. And, they're still running with it and doing great. So that was kind of my first kind of entrance point into hospitality, and I really, really loved it.
So you enter hospitality, the next 2 years of school, you complete your degree at King's.
Yeah. So basically from there, we're throwing parties. Wednesday nights turned into Thursday nights, which was at 29 Park. And then I was doing some Saturday stuff. I did some stuff at Jack's. So we did a whole bunch of stuff over the next couple of years. And from there I knew, this is what I was going to do. Yeah. I loved it. I loved being in the action. I loved getting people to come together. I loved seeing people happy. I loved the interaction that I saw between people, coming to a party. I love the creativity of throwing a party, different themes, different ideas, different DJs, all this kind of stuff. I remember way back in the day, we brought Brody Jenner.
Brody Jenner to
people
Toronto.
Probably don't even know to London. People probably don't even know that name. But him and Frankie Delgado. But they had a TV show. I don't know what it was called, but they were just a bunch of rich kids in LA. And basically, we brought them up. That's the kind of stuff we were doing back then. Fun stuff, bar stuff, and it was amazing. And that second year after I got back from school and I was doing really well, I told my dad, whose bar was not doing well in Toronto. His nightclub was kind of, it had a good year run, and then it kind of started to, get a little bit boring and a little bit kind of fizzle out.
Kind of
that's stagnant, and that's what happens in this business, man. And we'll get to that later, but, the shelf life of a nightclub in Toronto could be 2-3 years, if you're lucky. You hit 5, 6, 7 years in a nightclub, that's in our world, double, triple lifetime, dog years, you know what I mean? That's like being alive for 20 years. It's a very, very difficult task to be hot and be cool and be on top for that long, and it was year 2 for him, and I said, listen, let's throw this, let's change this into a university bar. And from there, basically, he finally took my advice, and him and his partner switched it up, and we came up with a brand and a university bar when I was in my third year of university, called Piccadilly Circus. And Piccadilly Circus was on Pearl Street, and that place exploded. So basically what happened, I would throw all my parties, in the wintertime when I was going to school at Western in year 2, 3, 4. Year 3 and 4. And in the summer times, I'd be here pushing and promoting my dad's spot called Piccadilly Circus, and I did the Thursday nights there and the Saturdays, and basically took it over for him. You know what I mean? As soon as I got out of school, it was still going.
So you just came from Kings, and then you're you know what? I'm gonna dive in straight into the industry, and
that's it, man.
Your first taste was your dad's this venture that he just started with.
I knew that school wasn't for me when one day I went to class. And instead of going to my seat and opening my books, I wrote where the party was that night. I was like, Thursday, 29 Park tonight. See you there on the chalkboard before the teacher got in.
So this is I don't know what year you went to school, but was Facebook or any social media platforms popular? How are you getting the word out at that time?
So the first year, Facebook was probably there when we were probably my second, third year. It's just started.
Just starting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it wasn't the biggest. It was a good tool to put up events and people were coming, and it was great awareness. We put the pictures up. Everybody was super engaged because that's what was big at the time. Facebook and seeing photo galleries and seeing pictures and seeing all this stuff. MMS. SMS.
Yeah.
And it was huge. But my tool, man, mine was the BlackBerry. I was always been. I'm still. My BBM was my best friend.
You still use BBM today?
No, I don't use it anymore. But BBM was my best friend, and I used to be like on fire with my phone, so I could send out a message. I'm still like that. There's a lot of promoters out there and a lot of people in the industry that I see trying to do what I did, and they're just posting flyers and doing this. But the best way to connect with someone to get them to come out and enjoy your experience that you're selling is by having a relationship with them, and that's just by pick up the phone and call them. So what's up? How's your day going? What are you doing later? Let's get together, whatever it may be, or send them a text message. But people don't like to be spammed. They don't like to just see things over and over. Through a text message, it's like, hey, they know it's a random it's a mass text message. It's like,
they like that personal touch.
That stuff doesn't stick onto the wall. Yeah. So finished university. I didn't graduate. I just kind of, was doing so well with my business at the time, events and throwing parties, and the club in Toronto was doing well. That I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna do this, and my last year, whatever happens, and just up here to kind of make money and continue this on as much as I can.
Roll with the flow.
And build some teams. So when I did graduate, I had some teams of promoters who are some very successful business people nowadays, very successful promoters nowadays.
Yeah.
And they have their own careers, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that a lot of lessons that I taught them back in the day, they still carry. And they've taught me lots of lessons too,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was my first kind of little
taste
bit of
into the hospitality, man. So I want to ask you, like, your nickname Matty Uniq, right? Back when I was in high school, there was like a brand, Uniq Lifestyle. Like, were you associated with that, or?
Yeah, Uniq Lifestyle was our first brand.
Your first brand, yeah.
We didn't create it right away. We created it as we built our office. And, we had a couple of clubs. We had a club called Cheval, which was, a club that I opened and started with a couple of friends when I was like 22 years old. We had Brant House, which was this famous spot in Toronto, and another one called West. So once we started getting 2-3 venues, we started to build an office around it. We couldn't just operate out of the venue and have our meetings there, or have the people in the office just working out of the office. We needed a kind of a hub, where we had a marketing coordinator, we had an office administrator, we had events team, for corporate events and events. We had a call center, and we had to create something bigger than I thought that we would be at that time, or we would get to at that point. But yeah, that's where kind of Uniq Lifestyle kind of got incepted. And basically, that was the first hospitality company, I guess, that we had.
So how long was Uniq Lifestyle, and when did it transition into your new business, Honeycomb Hospitality?
Uniq's been around for a long time. It's been probably, I'd say 10 years, no problem, maybe 12 years. And, Uniq Lifestyle, it was a great company. It's still going. That's how my name kind of came, and that's why people call me Matty Uniq. That's what I was associated with. And like I said, Uniq Lifestyle still lives on. Honeycomb Hospitality and how that got started. So I'd say the difference between Uniq at the time and how it Honeycomb was is that, Uniq Lifestyle did a whole bunch of different things. We did anything from create, and we were the creators behind Digital Dreams Music Festival. We did stuff at F1 in Montreal. We did tons of film festival stuff, not just in Toronto, but in Park City and other film festivals around the world. So it was a lifestyle brand that, was also part of hospitality, but we also did off-site lifestyle events and lifestyle stuff. And I think Honeycomb came after, because once we got into doing a lot more restaurant-based things and, stuff to do with more just locally stuff, not just big one-offs or just lifestyle events. This is kind of, you know, where Honeycomb got incepted.
Yeah.
And Honeycomb is strict restaurant and bar hospitality group. And that's kind of where we started out with Honeycomb Hospitality.
So what year was this that Honeycomb started?
Honeycomb's fresh. You know, I transitioned that one company into this one probably about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It started with Borrow. But, you know, before Borrow with Uniq Lifestyle, you know, I would say is the creator of King Street. You know, and if you ask what do you say about Uniq Lifestyle now when you look back on it, is that Uniq Lifestyle was one of the creators of King West. And I know that doesn't probably seem or feel much to anybody now because they just see King West as this
As it is,
neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it has some of the best restaurants in all of Toronto, has some of the best bars in all of Toronto, has the best nightclubs in all of Toronto, has some of the best condos and residents in all of Toronto, has some of the best, you know, businesses during the day on all of Toronto. You know, and it's a vibrant neighborhood day and night. You know, you walk on King West during the day, there's action, there's people, there's restaurants, there's things to do. After work, the streets are packed. Nighttime, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And when we came to King West when it was basically 2 or 3 spots or 1 or 2 spots. You know, Roxy Blue, 606. You know, and then it was us.
Yeah.
And we got away from the busy Adelaide Richmond Row, you know, that got a little too crazy, and there was too many bars in one area where, you know, you couldn't find parking, or was too many lineups, and the crowd was, you know, a little bit different because everybody offered a different offering in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
But they were strictly nightclubs, you know, and where King West at the time was nothing was there, but it was still close. So if you wanted to do something different, and, you know, a little more upscale to draw a different crowd, it was a great neighborhood, and we were just there at the right time. And we opened up West, which is, you know, in a basement on King West, King of Portland, and then right after that we opened up Brant House, which still lives there today, which is called Citizen. And then it started rolling, man.
Just started building and building.
Started building, and there was no condos there. You know? There was nothing. There was no hotels. There was no condos. There was no businesses like there is today. And that's why I say, if I look back and think about Uniq Lifestyle and what we've done, I think that what I'm most proud of is Uniq Lifestyle created King West.
Did you have this vision, like, from early on of, like, did you just take on King Street and you, like, looked at the people you're working with, your partners, and you told them, guys, this is going to be, like, the next wave of entertainment in the city? Did you see that in your head and, like, the potential in this area, or did it just happen by, you know what, let's open this here and then we can actually see how the city is, the developments that are coming, this can be the next big entertainment hub? Like,
I think at the time, no. I think that things were happening so fast for us that we really didn't sit down and say, what's our 10-year plan here? What's our 5-year plan? It was, you know, it was new to us, you know, and it was happening, and it was happening quick, and it was happening at a big amount in terms of, you know, volume of, like, you know, celebrities and corporate events and people coming to the neighborhood, and okay, and then what about this challenge? What about that challenge? Where are people going to park? You know, where are people going to go after to eat if they're, you know, want to get food? Where's the restaurants before you come to the restaurant?
Exactly.
Or go to the bar?
Yeah.
You know, there was none of that back then. So this is all new stuff we were dealing with. Wow. You know, and it happened so quick and so fast. You know, competitors started coming in the neighborhood. Okay, like, we have to do this. You have to do that. We have to adapt. We didn't see it all happen until it kind of happened. And once it happened, we were like, okay, we're in it now. And this is King West. Now it's about, and at that point it was like, how do we protect that neighborhood to be the best neighborhood in Toronto? How do we ensure if competitors are coming, there are the best competitors, you know, in the neighborhood? So we have other people that on our level that are bringing good brands, that are bringing successful restaurants, that are bringing good people, that are bringing, you know, money to the neighborhood, because the more businesses that are great in one area, you're building a community at that point. And when you have a successful community and it's self-sufficient on its own, not with just you having to be like people coming from different area to see you, but they're coming to see him and this person, that person, and now people are starting to live there. Okay, now we don't need to get people from a different neighborhood. Now we have people next door that live here. How do we get them in the venues? And we just started building and making sure that, you know, whatever we did for King West, we did it for the longevity of King West. Whatever we did for the neighborhood and, you know, for the hospitality scene or nightlife scene was not just for us. It was for Toronto, you know, and like I said, it's hard for people to think that when it's happening, but when you look back of what you've built and what King West is now, I think you have to understand that, and that this is the best way I put it sometimes to people is King West is the number one street for entertainment in all of Canada. You cannot name a street in Toronto, which is the biggest city in Canada, right, that has the most amount of bars, nightclubs, high-end restaurants, mid-level restaurants, amazing celebrity chefs, amazing community. It is one of the best neighborhoods for entertainment, hands down. And when you put that in perspective of being, you know, in Toronto, that one street, and Toronto being the biggest city in Canada, now you're going to start compare yourself. Okay, where else is it compared to? Who else do we compare to in North America? Does Chicago have a neighborhood like this? I don't know. I think that King West has a better King West has a better entertainment, and, you know, maybe not as many or as good restaurants as Chicago, but this food scene in Canada or Toronto is just as good. But, you know, as a street, I think King West outbeats the entertainment that there is in Chicago.
I haven't seen either, but like, you know, just the aesthetic of the whole street from like the businesses, like, you know, you see the Score, you're seeing eBay, and then you're seeing like Borrow over there. And like, I also want to ask you about Borrow, like, since it's like your first venue of like Honeycomb, right? Now like Honeycomb starts, right? I want to get into like the nitty gritty of like your day to day now, like, you know, now you're building. How was it like getting that, since this is your first business under the Honeycomb brand, how was that like what was the vision for building out, because it's such a unique spot, like in just terms of design and flair?
So basically, you know, the way Borrow came together was we had a restaurant called Valdez, and, you know, before Valdez was my first nightclub, you know, in Toronto, which was pretty famous, called Cheval. You know, had a 7-year run, 6.5, 7-year run. So like I said, in our world, that's a long time to be in business, you know? And I knew it was time to switch over, and I was getting a little older, and I wanted to do something. I didn't want to close down and open another nightclub, you know? I thought the space was done for that. You know, if I did do that, I would have to open a restaurant for 10 years and then redo a nightclub. That nightclub was so famous and so amazing that no matter what you put there or who did it, people would always remember what it was before, you know? So from there, you know, I met celebrity chef Steve Gonzalez, kicked it off, still great friends with him, really amazing human being. And, you know, he talked to me about this kind of Latin brand that he wanted to do, you know, based on his style of cooking, but also based around his culture, which is Colombian culture and Latin culture. And, you know, with Latin culture, there's so much vibrancy, and, you know, the food is part of the party. You know, people eat and party, people eat and drink, you know what I mean? And when he was talking about the brand and the identity and what it would be, that's like got my juices flowing, you know? And I didn't want some stiff, you know, high-end restaurant. I didn't know about anything about restaurants at that time, like on that level, to do something high-end. But I did know enough where, you know, if I knew I had a really good chef behind me, we could make the experience of dining and party kind of marry, and it'd be a fun place to go hang out. And, you know, Valdez had a great run, and it was about year 4. We were doing great, and our landlord bought our building. They wanted to build a new building there, so they bought our lease, and they relocated us to the Borrow building. So that's how Borrow kind of came to be. You know, Borrow, 12,000 square feet, 4 floors. It's a big undertaking. I don't care how big your restaurant group is. Any restaurateur in the world will tell you 12,000 square feet of restaurant and space to take on over 4 floors is probably one of the biggest risks and hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. You know, it's not only that it's difficult, that it's multi-floored, but also it's a lot of space, a lot of real estate. You know what I mean? So we took the risk. We knew that we had a brand that had multi levels to it, and that's kind of who we're known for now. Not just at Borrow, but our new venue Dasha. But every venue that we do open, we don't want it just to be a restaurant. We want to offer other things within that building to keep people there, other than just coming to eat and go home. People are looking to do things than just go to a nightclub or go to a bar or just go to a restaurant. Sometimes they want multiple offerings. And with the climate here in Canada, keeping them inside the same building, so they don't have to go outside through the snow or when it's cold or walk to another place or all this kind of stuff. If you can keep them all in the same building and give them something to do for 3, 4, 5 hours, I think that you're gonna be successful. Borrow offers our restaurant and the main dining room, which is the first floor. We have a lounge, which is an amazing cocktail bar called Pablo's on the second floor.
I love that place, man.
Yeah, amazing cocktails, amazing drinks, amazing food. The third floor, we have an event space, so we do lots of corporate events, weddings, corporate launches, product launches, anything, you name it. And then we have a rooftop. We have this beautiful rooftop that retracts all summer long.
Yeah.
And it's winterized. So right now we're right in the middle of fall. And go up there, it's cozy, it's warm, you look over the whole city. There's a fire grill paella happening up there with amazing Argentinian barbecue. So just alone on that description, why wouldn't you want to go check it out?
Exactly. So coming from Borrow, this is like the flagship venue for your thing. How did you start expanding into like other places like Petty Cash? I know you have Dasha now, but like Wildflower, how did those things come around so fast? And you seem to like launch a lot of venues really quick, and like taking on like a couple projects a year, it seems.
Yeah, so basically Honeycomb, that's the reason why we started it. And the reason why we started it from Uniq Lifestyle is that, we knew that we were getting to some big undertakings. We pre-planned what's happening in our calendar and our portfolio a couple years in advance. So I know what's going to happen in 2021 for my company now,
exactly.
And at that point, we wanted to kind of, take the panels off the car, see what we're working with, and kind of rebuild. And that's where kind of Honeycomb got established. And we knew that we were weak in certain areas, as a company at the time, and how we wanted to rebuild the structure of our company so we can sustain growth.
Yeah.
And anyone can go open, I don't say anyway, people can go open a bar, open it up and run in whatever. They might get bored after 5, 6 years, 7 years, sell it, and it's done.
Yeah.
If this is what you're doing for a career, and this is what you're going to do on the level that we do it at, you need to have a really, really tight infrastructure and people around you that are going to be there to help build it. Because when it comes and you're doing you're ready to open the next venue happens, and then there's another one. You better have the tools in place to be successful. Your finance department, your human resource department, your marketing department, all these types of things need to be in place before you open.
And I see like you have like a large team that you're expanding pretty quick. Just from like doing some research on you, like for opening like your new venture, like your latest Dash, I believe. You've added like 80 more employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we knew all this growth was coming. We built it, our office ready for it in advance. A lot of people kind of like open and they're like, oh shit, we need this. Oh shit, our marketing's not as tight, or our PR wasn't as good. Who are we going to use next time? We are ready to do anything.
You're always ready just for like any situation that arises. Like you have like the army behind you to execute on anything. And
exactly. And we built it, with a strong foundation first. And I think if you're going to be successful in this business and be ready to take anything that comes at you, you need to have a strong foundation and team.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, when you build your team, I try to be, probably not the smartest one in the room. Have really smart people around you every single day that are going to challenge you. Have people around you that are going to feed off you, your energy, and you're going to feed off their energy. People that you're proud to work with, and they're proud to work with you, and they have the same vision and goals as a company, because they're not just working for themselves, they're working for the people around them. And one thing that Honeycomb, we're known for in this industry is our company culture. There's a lot of turnover in the hospitality business when it comes to chefs, bartenders, waitresses, security, promoters, whatever it may be. A lot of people in Canada, from what I see, it's hospitality is a transit position for some positions and some roles. Some people might be, just a waitress because, I want to go through, I don't want to get through Ryerson. I need to help pay for my education. I want to help pay for my things.
Essentially.
I want to pay, I want to pay for the things I need to pay for to get me to where I want to be, which is amazing. I support that 1,000,000%. And anything that anybody needs from in our company, we support them to where they're going next. We try to give tools and seminars to help make sure people learn above and beyond than what they're just doing.
Exactly.
In our company. But I think one thing that we do well is we show people who work for us that we are an amazing workplace, a healthy workplace, and that there's opportunity to grow within our organization.
Exactly.
Or if it's not ours, but in the hospitality. And there's some managers that make some great money out there, man. There's some, people that, work for me now that were waitresses that are now in part of my marketing department. There's people that were bartenders that now do photo shoots for us, because that's,
they just climbed up.
Climbed up, or that's their passion on the side, or whatever it may be. And right now in my company, before we put a job ad out, we put it into our internal system. We push it out to all of our employees, like, hey, we're looking for this. If you know anybody, or if you want to put your name in the hat, why not?
Exactly.
And maybe someone's going to school for marketing, or maybe someone's going to school for advertising, and hey, this might be my way into, getting to learn the next steps, or instead of going to work for an agency or whatever. So, that's kind of the backbone of Honeycomb is our culture, but also we have a strong foundation for growth.
Exactly.
And that's why we were able to open so many venues so quick. And I'm only 36 years old, and at 36 right now we own and operate 8 venues in Toronto.
That's unreal, man. Congrats to you, man.
And I've opened up about 12 since I started this business. Started in this industry, sorry. So, it's a lot. Tons of stuff I'm proud about, tons of stuff that I've learned my lesson on, tons of stuff that made me to the person who I am today, man. And, I still have so much more to grow.
Yeah, you're only 36, man. Like, that's so young, man. And, like, to see where you're at, it's only crazy to imagine where you're going to go from here. With doing 12 projects, right? What is, like, the most difficult project you've ever undertaken where you've like, damn, this was like the toughest thing to get off the ground? Like, some things that you've had some turbulence to go through to really see the vision come to life.
I think the toughest projects, for me, are the toughest. There's two ways. I think there's one. The toughest part about doing a project for me is I don't want to say the word construction part, but it's the part of getting the keys to opening night. It's, for me, probably one of the biggest thrills and rushes, because you get to see an idea come to life.
Exactly.
You get to see an empty room like this, and then 6 months later you get to see a happy face eating or drinking in that same corner.
Exactly.
And you're like, how is this a pipe or a piece of drywall there like 6 months ago? And now it's a group of people coming after work having drinks, mimosas or margaritas or whatever it may be, and everyone's like, wow, this is awesome. And I think that's the funnest or most thrilling part, because once you see your baby come alive, it happens, but then now you're like, okay, we're open.
Exactly.
Now it's time to work.
It's go time, pretty much.
Now it's another thing. So, I think that's the hardest part is to get it from A to Z to open.
Yeah.
I think the hardest project I've been part of that I opened, that was probably the biggest learning curve, because it was new for us, was probably about 10 years ago, I put together a deal and was part of a project called the Ballroom.
The Ballroom on is it
Richmond and John.
Richmond and John, yeah.
Yeah.
Still going, man. Like, it's a great
it was an idea we had. I had with a couple of my friends, and my friends lived in LA, and I went to go see them, and we went to a bowling alley, and we used to go to clubs all the time. We're like, let's do something different. We grabbed a bunch of girls, went to a bowling alley, and they offered bottle service. We're like, whoa, this is sick.
Yeah.
So now we're bowling, and there's music, and there's bottles, and there's girls. I was like,
food
this is
and
like
everything.
food. I'm like, this is like being at a club.
Exactly.
But we were bowling and enjoying ourselves because, we were playing activities, we were having fun. It was like, your bowling shoes on, and you're just having a good time. And I was like, damn. I'm like, I think Toronto needs something like this.
Something like that.
And, I would say it was a big challenge for me because I was 25 years old. I was definitely way over my head. It was the first multi-million-dollar project that I did. 20,000 square feet, 2 floors, 10 bowling lanes, a stage, kitchen, food, and it was a brand new school of thought in terms of how do you maximize dollars in a bowling alley and throw a party while you're doing it and make sure that accommodate everyone, and then there's a live music aspect to it, and then there's a full kitchen to serve people in the lanes, and they only have an hour to eat because they only rent the lanes per hour, all this kind of stuff. So there's a huge learning curve in that business, and it probably took us a couple of years to kind of get it off its feet in terms of profitability. We were open for almost 2 years, and we were scraping by. We were doing well, but we were just scraping by and making money, enough money to do good, but it wasn't a home run yet.
Yeah.
And it took us 2 years to understand the business, the trends of the business. It took us 2 years to build our corporate side of the business.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to see what's it all about. And then when they saw what it was all about, it was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you start building a following, then you start building loyalty, and then you start building people coming back to you, and that's when you start seeing the profits. But it was the biggest learning curve, I'd say, because of my age, but also because it was a new style of business. That's where I came straight from nightclubs, and I knew how to do one thing really, really well. But it was really cool to be part of. I sold that business about 2.5 years ago. So, it was an 8-year run.
And like coming in at 25, I'm 25 right now, and here you are, you're opening a 20,000 square foot entertainment joint. Like, how do you access the funds, or how do you go on about putting a deal of that size? I think a lot of people would like to know.
I think it's not easy, man. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And all the moving parts have to align at the same time. And it all starts with an idea. It all starts with a brand. I knew we wanted to do bowling. I knew I wanted to do some sort of live music part of it. I knew we wanted to do bar because that was hot at the time. And there's, like I said, activities and things to do above and beyond. So there's multiple revenue streams. And then you need to go and find a space. Where do you find 20,000 square feet downtown Toronto?
Yeah.
Now you got to get lucky. You got to find a real estate agent. You got to find the perfect corner on the perfect busiest street with parking so people can park and walk in and all this stuff.
TTC, everything.
And I remember that, the landlord, he was like a 7-year-old guy, man. And this guy was one of the sweetest guys. He had probably, I think, 50 properties at the time. He said he just sold them all. So he was getting old, and this was his last property. But this was his first property he ever bought, but this is the last property he still owned. And he said he'll never sell it. He said this is his baby for life. And, and I told him what we were doing. And he was like, how are you going to bowling? Because at the time, bowling, you thought of, glow in the dark and, kids and this. And this was Richmond Street, Richmond and John right by Much Music. And they were like, he was like, this will never work. No, not going to happen. Like, what do you know about this? What do you know? It's not going to happen. And then I had to put a brand decks together, and I had to take him to our other venues and show him, and Jacob's Steakhouse was one of our venues. We took him there for a steak. And he's like, listen, if we can throw parties and then we can sell someone a $500 steak at the same time, we know how to get people butts in the seat.
Door, yeah.
And we know how to get people in the door. All we need is the right location and the right idea.
Yeah.
And at the time, this is their idea. And, he said, I reminded him as a young kid, because he started pharmaceuticals and no one really believed in him at the time. And he's like, I'm going to trust you with this. And he gave it to us. And like I said, the business has been there. And from there, I went and raised money, some friends and some connections that I made from school, because Western has a lot of, awesome people you meet, and, they were all in banking and stuff. So like I said, like all that happened within 4 to 6 months, man. An idea, a brand, a location, and raising the money, signing a lease, off to the races to build.
Do you feel like your ability to do that, do you feel like it's a talent you have, or is it just from being taught by like mentors, like such as your dad, who was like, took in that hospitality thing? Like, where does that ability from being able to, from idea to execution? I think it's a talent to have, because a lot of people sit on ideas. But you did it in 6 months and at that scale. Like, that is impressive.
I don't know if it's if you asked me, man, I would call myself a cowboy, bro.
Yeah.
What I do and how I did it, back then, it was like, I would never take that risk again. If I was now. There would have been way more calculations, in terms of, what the neighborhood was, or where things are going financially with the markets and stuff like that, sustainability and all this kind of stuff, ROI, that we look at now. There's formulas now, and there's built out models now, how to make money. That was a pure cowboy move. That was, I had a gut feeling that this is what Toronto needed. Yeah. And I had a gut feeling that this was the right location, and I had a gut feeling that I needed to do it. And I kind of got into everybody's ears around me and sold them on the same thing, And I don't know if it's a talent you're taught, man, but I'm telling you, if you have a dream and you believe in it so much that it's the right thing and you can do it, and it makes sense, and you have some, realistic people around you that are not being like, okay, you know what, like, you're being crazy, slow down. And they're like, listen, it makes sense, it's a good idea. If you have a dream and it makes sense to you, and it's, and it's the right move, go for it, man. And there's a lot of people that sit on ideas, like you said, and they're scared. Yeah. And I don't know why people get scared to talk about their ideas, to try to find people to invest in their ideas, to properly plan for their ideas, because I've seen a lot of people come in with great ideas, and I'm like, what's the business? Show me the business plan.
Show me the business plan, yeah.
Show me the ROI. How do we make money? Yeah. Now. Back then, if I was myself 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I brought that business plan to me, I'd be like, get the hell out of here. Like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
And I swear, if somebody came to me and said, that's what we want to do, I wouldn't probably get as hyped, Yeah. My idea, even with Dasha, it's like, we wanted to do a Chinese-inspired restaurant. Why? I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. At the time, I was like, I want to do a Chinese-inspired restaurant. Okay, like, let's dig deeper then. Like, what can we do to make that why make sense, Yeah. And in my head, okay, well, what can we do in that venue that has multiple revenue streams, that it's fun, that's innovative, that's different? What are we offering different than Chinatown, What does Chinatown have? Has great restaurants, has karaoke bars, has its own self-sustaining little neighborhood, where you can go hang out. Why can't we bring that to King Street and create our own entertainment hub inside one venue? But there was an idea. I had to pitch it to my partners first. My partners are like, how do you come up with this shit? Yeah. And then I pitched it to the landlord, because everything, he has to get approved by our landlords to see what they want in terms of concept and idea. And I have a really good partnership that they believe in my things. Sometimes I say some crazy stuff or have some crazy ideas. They're like, okay, settle down. But, they believe in some of the stuff I think that will be cool, or think that will work. Yeah. And I go out, man. I go out 6 days a week. I go out 6 days a week. I live and breathe this city. Yeah. I'm a true Torontonian. I go everywhere, all the time, every night.
Every night. Yeah, I see on your Instagram, like, it's like you really live and breathe your brand. Like, one minute I see you're at Petty Cash, next minute you were at Borrow. Like, you're like legit moving every single hour on the hour, just checking up on your brands and businesses, man. It's really cool.
I do it because I want to see how everything's performing, but also what can we do better. I'm a Virgo, so attention to detail is huge for me. I see things a lot different probably than people do. People probably go to a nightclub, they probably don't even know 90% of things that are seen, that are there, that are put there purposely, they're just like, oh, whatever, we're in it. But they're listening to music. They're, obviously the service matters, but there's probably 90 problems or things that I see, or good or bad, that someone else will never see.
It's kind of like, have you seen the movie Casino?
Yeah.
You like Sam Rothstein, like when he opens like the blueberry, and then he's just like, there's a lot of blueberries in that one, and look at this one, like that's pretty much like what you're doing. It's like those little things people like, well, it's whatever, it's a muffin, but like, no, that matters.
No, that's the most important thing, man. And look at the biggest brand in the world. Who do you think the biggest brand in the world is in hospitality? McDonald's. Why do they make that cheeseburger or Big Mac the same? Why is there 2 pickles, not 4? Why is there 2 pickles here, in Russia, in Greece, in Latin America, and every single McDonald's in the world? Why is it? Consistency. Consistency in flavor, consistency in the brand. If I'm going to go here, I want to know exactly what's happening halfway around the world. It better be the same. Yeah. Because I'm looking for that, man.
For sure.
So attention to detail is very important to me. But I'm a Torontonian. I'm in the scene. I don't want to say that I know what people want, but I understand the trends of what the masses or what people are going towards, and I see trends fading. I see trends starting, and it's just about the right time of finding what's the right time and what's the right place to make something pop.
And speaking about one of your other great things that you've done over the past 10 years is Le Brunch, right? You met up with Sergio, I read upon, you met him at a gym, you struck over a great friendship, and then over time, Le Brunch happens, and it's been going on forever. Funny thing is like when I was back in high school and Sergio was doing clean media, I used to see all these clean media photos, and I see Le Brunch, it just looked like this amazing experience. Was that a joint vision you both had together, or did you come up with it and you approached them and you asked them, hey, let's do this Le Brunch thing?
Le Brunch was a party I did for my 25th birthday. 25 was a big year for
25,
me.
25, yeah, man.
25. It was my 25th birthday. I'll show you a picture actually of the first Le Brunch.
Yeah.
I look like I'm 7. And it was a reason why I did Le Brunch was because half my friends, worked in finance or worked in banking or worked a 9 to 5. My other half of the time, were nightlife people, hospitality. So I couldn't do a party on a Friday or Saturday night because my friends would be working their nightlife.
Yeah.
I can't do a party on a Sunday night because everyone has to work on Monday. So I was like, what's the best way to get both people out? And it was kind of do this day thing where, all my friends came to eat brunch, and we had some drinks and some champagne, and we ate food, and we hung out, and there's some music, and it was great till 4 or 5 o'clock. And then all my friends that were more in nightlife that woke up, because they worked late, came around 5 o'clock, and the party started. So there was just like, okay, come eat, hang out, have a good time, brunch. Yeah. Like everybody catch up, have a Caesar, mimosa, whatever. And then it was 4 or 5 o'clock. Oh, there's people coming to party and drink again. And then the brunch started at noon. And
it became like a Sunday thing. When did it become a Sunday thing?
It was a Sunday thing every month. We did it from that day on. The owners, Sasha, who helped me build it at the time, he was an operator there, and basically, he's like, let's do this again, and we're like, okay, let's do it. And we kept going, and it kind of built in this kind of monster that it is today, and I sit back and I'm like, holy, Le Brunch was wild, and we just did a Halloween Le Brunch, and it was amazing. Great crowd. We're over at Laval now, which is a great venue for it. So,
sounds good, man. What was I gonna ask you? So, what are some failures outside of being in hospitality that you've experienced that have really impacted your business career to what it is today?
Failures outside of hospitality?
Yeah.
Probably relationships. No, relationships in terms of girlfriends. No, I'm joking. I don't know, man. I think that people not know this about me, but I live and breathe only this. I don't do anything outside of this. Failures. I have tons of failures within hospitality. Every good businessman has failures to make them who he is today and to make them successful. But outside of hospitality, You know, I don't live and breathe or do anything other than, you know, see my friends, play a little hockey, other than work in hospitality all day, all night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than my personal stuff, like I said, relationships that
kind of went sour.
have sucked. But, you know, I'd say out of relationship with women, a lot of my relationships suffer because of what I do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very difficult to understand what I do in terms of someone like me is very difficult to date when it comes to, you know, someone being out 6 days a week, someone being in a restaurant 6 days a week, someone being in a nightclub 6 days a week, someone being around people and females and alcohol 6 days a week. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people don't understand it, but I think the easiest way to put it for me, you know, this is how I feed my family.
Yeah.
You know, this is how people eat, and this is a business to me, and this is a job to me. This is like someone else going to work at 9 in the morning. This is the same as going to work at 5 p.m. It's the same as me going to work in the morning at 9 a.m. and coming home at 3 a.m. You know, business is business, and I'm going to get it done. And to me, I understand why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I have my goals, and a lot of people might not understand it. They might think it's crazy, or they might think it's, you know, unrealistic to be part of something like this. But, you know, this is how I feed my family at the end of the day, and I'm going to do that right till the end.
Sounds good, man. Let's get into a little bit of mentality of Matty Tsoumaris, man. So first question I have for you is, like, did you always innately know you were going to be successful even when you were not successful? Like, going back to, like, being in your teens to your early 20s, like when nothing was really popping, did you already gut feeling, you know what, I'm gonna make it one day? And for sure, you never knew it.
Nah, man. I was probably the kid that, you know, probably didn't get as many chicks in high school, or probably didn't have as much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I always looked up to the older guys that always took the hotter girls for my grade, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always looked up to the guys that were driving,
Nice,
you know, before I had my license, you know what I mean? I always wanted to be like that. I didn't ever think that I would be anything, you know. I knew that I had opportunity because my family had their own businesses, and, you know, I thought I was going to be working at my dad's auto body shop, you know, kind of taking his steps in his shoes. I didn't know there's anything for me outside of this. And I don't know, like, I think when I was younger, when I started to be very successful, you know, money used to be important, and money was a thing, and, you know, having the nice car, like I've driven every single car, you know, living in whatever condos, you know, when you're owning condos at 21, 23 years old in hotels, like, you're like, oh shit, like, this is pretty dope. Go on vacation anywhere you want in the world, you know, partying in Vegas every weekend with people, you know, it's like, that at the time meant something. But I don't think that's what defines success. You know, my definition of success is a lot different now than it was 10 years ago or 12 years ago, or maybe even 6-7 years ago. I don't know.
Do you feel like that's like from maturity, just like going over the years, and you start valuing a lot more things differently than you were when you're like a younger guy? Do you feel like age plays into it, or is just like experiences that come and go?
I don't know if age plays into it. I might say something that's really stupid to some people right now, or maybe some people won't understand it, or maybe some people do. But when you don't have money, you think money is going to make you successful. Money is what makes you successful.
Yeah.
When you have money, you have everything that you wanted to get. And I'm not saying everything, like, I don't, you know, I'm not a guy that wants a private jet. I don't want a yacht. You know, I have a boat, I have a car, I have whatever I want, you know what I mean? But once you have it, you start to notice that money is not what makes you happy, you know? And I think I've learned that from a lot of dark, lonely nights, probably, in terms of, you know, I have to walk home, you know, after a long night or a long week, 3 a.m. in the cold, you know, I walk back home to all of that, and I'm like, is this all worth it to work 14, 15 hours a day just to make money?
Yeah.
You know, I'm working 15, 16 hours a day, walking home at minus 20, and I've done this for how many years? You know, and I have everything. I'm not happy. Okay, so what's going to start making me happy? that's when you start asking yourself and digging deep down inside of you of like what actually makes you happy in life. For me, you know, family's number one.
Yep.
I love being around my family, see my family happy, doing stuff with my family is like, you know, I know it's pretty cliche to be like, you know, family's what makes me successful, you know, but it's truth. Friends, you know, people you've had bonds with since you're young. A lot of people don't connect with their friends from a long time ago, man. And I think, you know, I've been in a situation like that where I got too busy, but connecting with my friends and hanging out with my real friends from back in the day, that to me is successful, you know, doing stuff with them because those guys understand you your whole life. And then, you know, I think the last thing for me that I've found happiness from stuff that's helped me, that has made me, you know, stuff that because I'm successful, I do things that make me happy. Because I'm sure if someone's probably asking like, oh, something has to make you happy, like money. I think the only thing that I can say that I can relate, like if you're successful, you know, you can get happiness. For me, it comes from traveling.
Seeing experiences and everything like that.
Yeah, and the traveling comes from the culture. You know, I really love to travel to embed myself in the culture of the country we're going to. When it comes to food, entertainment, you know what I mean, art, whatever, architecture. And all these types of things, and those are a lot of things that I love to go travel to see and do, because that's where I get a lot of my ideas.
Yeah,
you know, I bring back a lot of those ideas here. You know, and it might be an idea on a food item or like decor. Or, you know, whatever we do, a party, whatever. A lot of the stuff.
Creating, yeah.
Vibe. So you get ideas and traveling and seeing different cultures and all different types of ways of how people do things. Really starts to get me going, and that's what makes me happy.
I want to ask you, do you believe luck plays a part in becoming successful? Like, you know, you've been in the industry, like, you know, you've been in it. Like, and some people come in and they fall out. Do you feel like luck plays, even though I believe in hard work?
Yeah, I look, the people who come in this business and fall out are because they're not meant to be in this business. It takes a very strong person to be in this business, and it takes a very committed, you know, there is no short-term way to be successful and happy if you're just going to do this for a short time. Like, you have to be pot committed in this for years, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. There's people out there that own a restaurant. It could be the hottest restaurant for 4 or 5 years, and they maybe start to be like, you know, I'm bored of this, or this is not what makes me happy. They might have gone to live a different life direction. The minute you take your pulse off that business in hospitality, when it comes to, you know, the food, the service, the brand, the marketing, any of this stuff, the minute you take your pulse off that business, it will start to slip, and people will know.
Does it slip like on the low, like where you're not seeing it, like where it's just like compounding slowly over time, and then it just becomes like this thing that cannot be stopped, it just falls down?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a slippery slope, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to culture. You know, if you have a couple bad apples working for you inside your company, or inside your restaurant or inside your bar, and those bad apples are creating a bad culture for people to work there, you know, people are not going to be happy going to work. And when you have people that are not happy working for you, you're not going to get the best out of them. And when you're not getting the best out of them, they're not giving your clients the best, you know?
Yeah.
So there is slippery slopes in definitely different situations. But, you know, if you are going to, I'm going to tell you, if you are going to get into hospitality, it's a long-term play. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go in, open a bar or nightclub or open a restaurant, be successful in 5-6 years, make all this money, and then leave. Like, I wish you luck. Yeah.
And what I was going to ask you as well, too, I just do this because I just got to see, like, the time as it's going. So, like, you know, it stops recording. What is you as, like, you know, you talk about keeping a pulse. You're keeping an eye on every single thing. You know, it's a lot of work to be an entrepreneur, a businessman. What is your greatest strength as a businessman and as a leader of Honeycomb Hospitality?
I don't know, man. I think it's a great question to ask someone that works for me, maybe.
Yeah.
A great leader for me, man, or, you know, I'd say a leadership skill is probably, and I think you could probably ask a lot of people about me about this, is like treat people the way you want to be treated. You know,
Yeah.
Everyone's a human being. Everyone is going to have a good day. Everyone's going to have a bad day. Everyone is there to, do what they can for you and be good and be a good person. And I just want to make sure that I'm a good person. I give my company, my staff, the people who work around me, the best of me every single day, because they deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you're not being the best that you can be every day, then you're not being the best leader. And that comes from being a good person. That comes from good work ethic. That comes with working well with your coworkers and your teammates and everyone around you. Working smart. A lot of people are like, oh, you hustle the hardest, or you like this guy like works the hardest. You can work the hardest, man, but if you don't work smart, that's only going to go so far. I mean, you're gonna get to where you need to be. I'm gonna tell you, there's people that work hard in this business or any business in general, get far. If you work and grind, and like, oh, the grind. If you grind, you're gonna get there. You might get there in 2, 5, 10 years, but if you work hard and smart, you might get there in 1, 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because people who don't work hard, that are lazy, or sleep in, or put in 70%, they're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't care who wants to challenge that. If you sleep in all day, you're not working. If you want to go home early because you're just tired and you don't want to do it anymore, and you're not happy where you are, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You mail it in at work and you just try to hide. Like, oh, let's go till 5 o'clock because I want to get out of here at 5 o'clock, and do whatever you have to do to, show you're working as much as you can or little as possible, just so people don't notice you, so you can go home. You're not gonna be successful, man. You're gonna end up just being in the same routine, and people are gonna notice, and everybody's weaknesses get exposed in business over time. So I'm not saying grinding's the only way or working hard is the only way, but working hard is definitely 50%.
And where does that work ethic come from you, like, to sustain this long, to have like that strong desire to, like, where does that...
My dad's like
your dad,
the craziest work ethic guy you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah. So this is
there was I'll tell you 2 stories for me that like embedded in my head.
Yeah.
One, when I used to work for him at his auto body shop, if there was a piece of paper on the floor or something that I walked by and didn't pick it up, I would get a smack in the back of the head. Like, hey, what are you doing? Is that piece of paper going to pick up itself?
Yeah.
Or is that box going to move from there to there? Or are you just going to look at it? You know what I mean? And he's saying that because you need to always be taking care of your business. Don't get lazy just to walk over a piece of paper. You've seen it. Okay, maybe you did it. You know it's there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you pick it up?
Yeah.
And it's not why wouldn't you pick it up. It's if you pick it up and you're the boss of the business or you're the leader of the business and people see you do it, then they should do it. Or why shouldn't they do it? It's
like it's a feeling of never feeling above of who you are, and like whatever your status is, it's like who you are in those little moments really defines who you essentially
100%,
are as a person.
And the second thing, and this, like I said, my dad's ruthless when it comes to work ethic. Guy's a machine. And even when I was in my promoting days, or like when I just owned nightclubs and I have to be out till 4 or 5 in the morning, I'd sleep till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And he used to call me 9 a.m. Are you up? What are you doing? Where are you? And I used to get anxiety attacks looking at those, and I would be like, oh, fuck, this guy thinks I'm sleeping. I got to get up. Now I get up at 9 in the morning every day. And he didn't even know. Now I message him being like, are you up?
Yeah.
And, he's a hardworking European guy, came here in his teenage years, and he came here with absolutely nothing. And that's the definition of someone who just, worked his ass off and became successful. Yeah. It took him a long time, but that guy worked and grinded so hard that he became successful.
Like he's self-made. Like he legit took himself from nothing into something.
Nothing. Dropped off here by his parents.
Yeah.
And fend for himself.
Okay. All right, man. So what else I want to ask you, next thing is, there's, this year, you've committed to your goals, becoming more organized and creating good habits to stay on top of your business and essentially stay focused, right? What are some of those things that you've implemented in your life this year that you see have taken you from like good to great?
I think this was the first year where I preset my goals. This is the first year where I got a mentor, and I suggest this highly for everybody, because I think the hardest thing about goal setting, especially for a year, is that it's 12 months, man.
Yeah.
You got to follow and believe and want what you wanted in Jan 1 and at December 31st.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So having a mentor to keep you on track, having a mentor that calls you once a month to say, hey, man, how you doing? It helps. You know, helps you get to your beat, because when I see my mentor call, I'm like, oh, fuck. If I didn't do something I'm on pace to do, why didn't I? You know what I mean? He might be, and it might be something that you have a good explanation for, might be not, but makes you focus that these were my goals, and I asked this person to help me get there, and I want to continue to not just do it for myself, but do it for him, because he's following up still.
Yeah, he's keeping you accountable for everything.
He's holding me
doing.
accountable.
Yeah.
And my goals for this year was a financial goal, a health goal, and a personal goal. So, you know, my personal goal was not to answer my phone or hop on emails within the first 30 minutes of my morning. You know, I've been following that pretty good. I used to wake up and before my second eye would open, I'd open emails.
You just check your phone and like start responding.
You know, right off the bat, before you even get out of your bed, you already start to have, you know, and I don't want to say the word anxiety, but you already have pressure, you know, of your day. You know, you're already getting up stressed out. You know, you see one bad email, you haven't gone to the shower yet, you're toast. You're already like, okay, I got to get out of the shower, I got to deal with this, you know? So waking up, having a clear mind, and then jumping into it has been very helpful as a personal goal. Health goal, cutting down drinking. Obviously, I have to go out at nighttime a lot, and I probably drink now only like with customers and clients 2-3 days a week, which is great. You know, I'm getting older, so, you know, in our business, I do have to go see people, and people do spend money at my venues. So, you know, when they offer me a shot,
so you have to take that shot.
Yeah, I take it. Or, you know, if it's a glass of champagne, I don't want to be rude and say no. So 2-3 days a week, I'll do that now. You know what I mean? Before it was probably 4 or 5. And, you know, even if it's like 2-3 shots in a night, you know, why even do 3 at that point? Just do 0.
Yeah.
You know? And the third was a financial goal, man. And, you know, I've been hitting all those goals for pretty much all year. My biggest goal was to learn Spanish and attend school, Spanish school. That was like a really, really that was a 2-year goal, but it was like to start and get it going.
Get fluent like in Spanish.
Yeah, it was like 2 years. My goal is to know Spanish fluently, and now I'm on, you know, week 26, class tomorrow. But you know, so those are the stuff. I'm learning a language while I'm doing all my businesses. You know, definitely challenging. But I highly suggest everybody to set a couple goals a year, and try to follow them through. It's very difficult once you start hitting like month 9, 10 to remember those goals after like a crazy summer or like, you know, all this fun stuff happening or whatever it may be. So get a mentor to help you push you through those times and then keep you on track. You know, I think next year, a lot of people say a good thing to do is kind of like write 3 things you're thankful. Write down 3 things you're thankful for every morning, you know? Yeah. And I think that keeps you grounded and level-headed, and I think it'll make you realize some of the small things that happen throughout the day that make you happy too.
And like, you know, with close to 60 days remaining of the year, right? It's like 4th quarter right now, you know, game's about to be over. Is there anything like maybe you feel like you're behind on that you really want to like accelerate and just get it done because you see December 31st is right around the corner?
I don't think so, man.
Yeah, you're on track.
I think where I'm at with my company, where I'm at personally, mentally, and where I'm at with, you know, who I am as myself, I'm exactly where I wanted to be at this time of the year.
Yeah.
I want to get better, you know, but that's not going to happen in 60 days in terms of, you know, everything I just listed. I think that's a long-term thing. But in terms of where I am in my life and who I've become and what we're doing, you know, I hold my head pretty high and pretty proud of what we've done. And I'm happy to be, you know, blessed and thankful for everything that's come my way. And I think you talked a little bit about luck before.
Yeah.
I definitely feel lucky. You know what I mean? And I want to give that back to the world as much as I can. You know what I mean? In terms of being a good person, in terms of charity work, in terms of, you know, doing what I do, man. And what we do is sell experiences every single day.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that as much as I can, we give that person coming to spend their hard-earned dollar a good experience.
Sounds good, man. And when it's all said and done, right? Like when you're closing the book and everything of your life, your career, how do you want people to remember Matty Tsoumaris?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's too early to say that, but I think I want people to remember me as someone that was always happy, and that someone that you could always just have a good time with, and someone that was just really, really, you know, a good person to everybody. I think that's what makes people remember you, not just, you know, money or success and all this kind of stuff.
It's like how you made them feel.
How you made them feel, you know, and it's not, what we do is I want to make people have, you know, leave my places with a feeling, leave them with a memory. And I want people to remember me of that one memory that they've had in and out one of my venues or with me. You know, I've had friends that have met at my venues and got married. I want that to be a memory. I want someone that met, you know, me and said, you know what, that guy's a really nice guy. You know, he's a lot different than I probably thought he was.
Yeah.
I want that to be a memory. I want people to live like, wow, that was one of the greatest nights of my life. We threw a raging party. That was one of the best meals. That was one of the best, you know, cocktails. Those are things that I want them to remember me.
And
when
they think of it, they think of you like you were like the orchestrator behind it, and you provided this great feeling that they're going to live with forever. Like whenever they think of going out or being at a venue, they're like, you know what, when I was at Matty's venue or event, I got this feeling. I met this guy.
Yeah.
I formed this relationship.
I danced all night.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever, something like that. I think right now that's where I want people to remember me as someone that just, at one point, I touched their lives and gave them a moment.
Yeah.
Not more than just a moment
Yeah.
of happiness.
So we're close to wrapping it up, and I always ask every guest that comes on the podcast, you know, what does hustle over everything mean to you personally?
Hustle over everything means getting up and getting it, bro.
Yeah.
I think it means wake up with energy, and whatever you're doing, go put 100% into it. And if you don't feel like putting 100% into what you're doing every day, change what you're doing and find something that makes you happy. Where putting 100% feels like nothing.
Yeah.
It just organically happens. It's like waking up and wanting to get out of bed because you have something amazing, you know, ahead of you.
Exactly.
You know, and I think I did an Instagram post once back in the day, and I was like, is it weird that I don't like to sleep because I love being awake to be out and doing stuff, like doing what I do? And then some girl messaged out and commented on my Instagram. She's like, I take too many naps. We couldn't date.
Sounds good, man. And, you know, this one's like for the, you know, my listeners. It's a fun question, I think, you know, they'd enjoy. You being out and about all the time, I know you bump into a lot of celebrities. When TIFF comes into town, you know, like your venues, like they host a lot of like the parties and the after parties. Who's one person you've been in front of, like where you just couldn't believe, like, I'm in the presence of this individual?
Oh, man. That's a awesome question. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Because I've had some long nights and amazing nights with lots of celebrities. Celebrities are a lot nicer and more down to earth than anyone thinks they are. I think the way people approach them is what makes them scared or nervous or shy or back away or run away into the car, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, they're just people like the rest of us. So for me, I always kind of treat them like that.
Yeah.
And that's when they become most comfortable with me. I would say, there's been a couple good moments I've had with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
He's an amazing, amazing guy. I've had him in my bars or clubs 12 years, 13 years ago, singing Ray Charles songs on a piano with Kevin Spacey. And he was singing all of Ray Charles songs after he did the movie Ray.
What?
Just for us. And Kevin Spacey grabbed the mic and started singing. And 3 months ago, he came out, hit me up, and we're out hanging out, and we're partying. And I was like, Jamie, remember the time when you were up here and we did that party and you were singing Ray? And he's like, how do you remember that? I'm like, how can I not remember that? It's one of the greatest moments, you know, in Toronto entertainment.
Yeah.
He's like, that's one of the greatest moments of my life. He goes, I remember that night like it was yesterday. So he goes, that was one of my greatest moments I remember.
Sounds good, man. Well, Matty, man, I just want to say thank you again for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you providing like all the great insight and all your life experiences that have got you to this moment. Is there anything, anywhere where people can find you, follow you, and get in touch with you if they want to know like the next event or how to like, you know, find out more about Honeycomb?
I think the best thing to do is follow me at Matty Uniq, MattyUniq. I'm pretty active on social media. So you always will see where I'm out, where I'm at, what I'm promoting, what I'm, you know, what I have in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And I tag all of our venues, so you can come see what, you know, dishes I'm posting about or what parties I'm posting about, and you can come try them. So, you know, never be shy to come approach me and say hello. Hopefully many people listen to this and you guys got something out of it. But thank you for having me, and I wish you great success with Hustle Over Everything.
Thank you, man. So, Hustle Over Everything Nation, that's Matty Uniq. Super blessed to have him here, man. One of like the great pioneers of Toronto entertainment industry. Check out all the venues if you haven't already. Petty Cash, Wildflower, his new Chinese restaurant called Dasha. It's pretty blessed. It's pretty hot, sexy, has all the glitz and glamour. And last thing I always want to say with a great message is this week, just finish out strong. As Matty said, if you have an idea, just get started on it, work on it, put pen to paper and just get it rolling, because you never know where it can take you. And as my previous podcast of overcoming that fear of taking chances, things are created when you take a chance. And if you don't take a chance, you're never going to really be able to see your dreams come true. So this is Owen Osende, Mr. Hustle Over Everything. And I just want to say thank you to Matty Uniq for coming on again. And just remember, hustle is everything. Hustle is getting up. Hustle is showing up. And hustle is putting out. We don't pass out. We cash out. All right? Let's get it. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace out.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How to record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors so you can get paid to podcast. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.